Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Artist Work Lab here at Metro Art Studios in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Tonight's topic is curating an art exhibit that galleries want. We welcome you here to the building and to this series, this continuing monthly series. My name is Jane Davila. I am the executive director of Metro Art Studios, which is an art space in the south end of Bridgeport with 41 artists in 37 studios, and a large gallery, and a lot of different kinds of events, music events, art events. There is a very large open studio event coming up next weekend, the 11th and 12th of November, that we invite you to come to. The entire building and all the studios will be open. There'll be a lot of music and food and art and fun to be had, so we would love for you to come back for that. And my co-moderator is Erika.
Thank you. I'm Erika Wesley, the Executive Director of the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County. We are an over 600 membership organization, individual artists, art institutions, and really anything and everything in between that allows individuals and institutions to convene, connect, also to strengthen their capacity. We offer fiscal sponsorship, marketing, and promotion opportunities. So if you're in the audience and you are not a member of the Cultural Alliance, please see me after. We can talk about making you a member. And thank you, Jane, for having us.
This series is produced in collaboration with the Cultural Alliance and with support from Connecticut Humanities. So curating is the act of selecting, organizing, and presenting objects for display. A curator typically manages an entire exhibition project from the selection of the exhibit theme to the artists that will be included. And tonight we have three experts in our field. We have two people who manage and run galleries, and we have one artist who curates exhibits. And I'll let you introduce themselves, and we'll start with Iyaba Ibo Mandingo.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Iyaba Ibo Mandingo here. My partner and I own and live in Gallery 9104, the Art House. And it's exactly what it is. It's sort of an answer to the question, to the statement people usually say where, I love your art, but I don't know if I could live with it. So we put it in a place where you can come and see it in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in hallways, and you can see the art and maybe realize that it doesn't have to match your couch to be cool. That's sort of that was sort of the germination, I guess. It's been a couple of years and going pretty cool. I'm also a painter and I'm an artist and a writer and a performer. So I bring all of those things to the table. I think you should attack all five senses when you're trying to get people to come in. So that's sort of like our formula.
I'm Sandy Pelletier, and I own Sorelle Gallery, which is in Westport, Connecticut. We've been in business for about 15 years. We started in Saratoga Springs, New York, and then we opened another gallery in Albany, and then a third gallery in New Canaan, Connecticut. And as time and years went on, and Google became the king, we became one gallery and a big website and company that sells a lot of art online and does a lot of merchandising that way. But we've been doing this for a long time. We're kind of a hybrid gallery, I guess I would say now, because we do have the website, and that's kind of one business. And then we have the brick and mortar still, which is always a challenge, but it's doing pretty good. But in Westport anyways, we've been in Westport location now for 3 years, and it's lovely. All right. Oh, we have one over there.
Hi, I'm Duvian Montoya. I'm the executive director of the Norwalk Art Space. We're an institution where we offer free art education to underrepresented, underserved kids in Norwalk, but we also have a Coreyship Fellowship where we try to expose artists that have been underrepresented over the years. And give them a voice within our beautiful gallery setting, which is an old church. I've also helped to start the St. Philip's Artists Guild in Norwalk, the Westport Artist Collective in Westport. I had a gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was also assistant curator at the GE headquarters in Fairfield, Connecticut. So I have some history in curating, assisting, and being an artist as well, organizing exhibitions for artists, institutions around the country. So.
So just to reread the definition, because I love words, and also it's the end of the day, and some of us may have forgotten already. The definition of curating is the act of selecting, organizing, and presenting objects for display. So knowing that, what are some of the hallmarks of a successful curated exhibit? And anyone can start.
I always just ask, I think the artist, you start with one artist and you see something in the work that has a message or a theme to it that you want to try to enhance and promote within an exhibition. Either it's a one-person show, or maybe that's the opportunity where you could bring combined or like-minded artists together in an exhibition to highlight that theme that you see within the artist's work. At least for me, that's how it starts.
Cool. That's I like you guys start off with the hardest question. I'm gonna say the senses again. If I like what Duvian said about the one artist, maybe if that artist, maybe they're a colorist, then that's going to be what I go with. Whoever I think is going to be the draw, let's say, for that event. Maybe they're a more established artist, or maybe they're just doing some really amazing work. Maybe the hand of God came down and touched them last month, and they've just been painting like crazy. But whatever the thing is that makes me want to have a show with these group of people or with this person, it's going to be that thing that I want to highlight. So if it's the color, or if it's texture, or if they have really amazing, their amazing sculpture or something, then that's what I'm going to try to run with, that thing, and have that be, especially if it's a group show. Then when I go and look for other artists, that's going to be sort of like my GPS, if you will. Yeah.
Because we're more of a commercial gallery, we're looking at how to hang the work so that it will sell. So, we certainly are looking at the artists that are all signed with us, and we have about 45 artists right now that are contractually signed. And so with that, we try to give everybody some space. So if it's a show, and right now what we are doing, and I think I was just talking to somebody before about this, that years ago, maybe 15 years ago, we would have an exhibition and, people really came out. I mean, they got dressed up and they had wine and champagne and they bought paintings. And it's very different today with technology and the internet and so forth. So, you have an exhibition and nobody shows up, or people show up and it's more about like, they're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They want to drink your wine, and you got all this beautiful art hung together for this one artist you curated. Because again, you're saying like one artist. It's usually a collection of work that all is symbiotic. It looks beautiful together, and nothing happens. So today, what we tend to do is we still do a feature, or maybe a scaled down exhibition, I would say, for one artist. And we use one section of the gallery, one wall, and maybe it may filter over. And then the rest of the gallery we curate for everyone. So we have a little bit of everyone. As far as curating, I think if you're doing one artist, like you guys were saying, whether it's color or shape or you can kind of look at those pieces, even if you're curating kind of salon-like. And years ago, we used to do more salon-like, where it was the true old-fashioned salon where you hung pieces, one on top of the other, above and below, because you had small space, And now I'm in this big space in Westport, and, well, hopefully I'll get to stay. I don't know. I'm not paying the big rent like everybody else probably, but so we have a lot more space, so we still mix the artist in a salon style, but they can have, one painting after the other. And then it's more about, do these colors work and shapes with this? Is this too patterned to go next to maybe something that is very busy, so then I'm gonna put a quieter painting or something more minimal next to that, so that the next painting could be maybe a little bit more patterned. So it's a lot of work, but you do have to, sometimes you have to pull all your paintings out and just spread them out and look and everybody has an opinion. So you get your team all together and everybody's like, sometimes there's some, very strong opinions too, but it usually gets finished up, but it'll look nice. So that's pretty much how we do it in the gallery anyway.
So what type of response are you hoping to get from your audience? Do you go into it thinking about that? I want to evoke this type of response. Is it different with every show that you're creating? Are you looking for an emotional response? What emotions? Are you looking for an intellectual response? Are you trying to make them think about something? As the curator, how do you approach that, the audience and what their reaction will be?
I think I'm going first. I'm still motivated by the thing. Whatever the thing was that caught my eye, it's like a juicy story that you heard, and you're gonna go tell somebody about it, and you may tell them the juicy story part before you give them all the details. So that's what I want. I want you to feel the way I felt the first time I saw the artist's work or that group of work. I want that feeling to be the inspiration. So whatever I have to do that, I'm gonna push that, and I'm gonna use that especially when I'm marketing. I'm gonna use that as my main sort of platform. If it's something that's really touching on a vibe that's happening now in our society, maybe that's what I'm gonna talk about. If it's color, maybe that's what I'm gonna talk about. If it's something that's sort of an ode, then I'm gonna put it. That's the way I'm gonna lean. But I'm gonna really allow I'm gonna be the sort of the thermostat. Whatever turned me on is what I'm going. Because I'm the one that's gonna have to sell it. Like, we're the one that's gonna have to sell the idea. So if I don't think it's cool as hell, then I'm probably not gonna do a good job convincing you to come down and quote unquote and come drink my wine and eat my stuff. You know what I mean? So I think that's the main thing for me is what turned me on, and how can I convince you to come feel what I felt, Yeah.
I guess, I hate to say this is probably terrible, but I'm motivated by, sales, of course. I got to pay the rent, It's like everybody's got to get their paycheck. So I'm always thinking, okay. But of course, we're there for the art, obviously. And you can usually tell when people come in, if they keep gravitating towards a certain painting, there's something that is eliciting something from them, from that work. And, or even when, some people will come in and they don't want to be bothered, so you leave them alone. You tell them a little bit, and then you kind of leave them alone. And then you can say to them later, well, what was your favorite? A lot of times it's interesting to hear their take on it, because, I always tell the girls, please ask what's their favorite, because they will have a strong opinion about saying, I love this. And you could say, why? What makes you love it? And sometimes they don't know. They really don't know why. And then they have to think about it a little bit more. And it might be a nostalgic feeling if it's more of a representational piece, like there's a barn or something. And or if it's abstract, they love the colors. Just are so soothing and it's calming to them. Or there's always some kind of a feeling. And then it comes down, of course, to price, and size. Will it fit, and so forth. So then you have to go those particular hurdles. But in most cases, there's a reason why. I mean, we still have a lot of designers that come in and they want to match something, and which is a little frustrating, at times. And or it's this blue. It's like, there's 50 blues in here. This will work with. So yeah, it's a kind of you really have to work it out with them and, you know, get them to try it maybe in their home, take it with you, you know, so. Yeah. Oh, you have.
I do think there is a big difference between a commercial gallery and
Yeah.
small museum organizations like the art space.
I would take donations.
But you know, you really, I think, give artists that avenue, that set avenue. You have that set vision of buyers that you are trying to appease. We get to experiment, I think, a little bit more and bring in sort of those messages that it's a little bit harder for a gallery to sell on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, we did that, I think, years ago. We were more in that arena because things weren't as expensive. Today, things are moving so fast, and everything is so expensive, and your competition is, you know, severe. And you really have to know, you know, why do I feel my artists are worth the investment? Why do I feel, you know, that they're not just decorative artists and so forth, you know? But so, you know, I get it. I wish we could do more of that, you know?
But I think that's why it's important to have both
Yes.
in any sort of cultural background.
Yes.
And, you know, having a message, we get to explore that a little bit. And that's how, you know, working with Iyaba in an exhibition last year, that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Because Iyaba was that featured artist, but he was able to bring in like-minded artists that helped to tell his story, that, you know, gave it a rhythm around the room. And it was a broad, what was it, 7 artists altogether in that exhibition? And it was just a beautiful exhibition where it was rhythmic, you know? It was loud, punchy, and then it quieted down, just like you were saying. And it's important to have all those different elements. And then you add the poetry and all these other senses into an exhibition. You want the viewer to walk away and be inspired to either come back, experience more of the space, of the artwork, of the individual, of the artist, fall in love with the artist, so they can, you know, sell more.
Yes.
Because that's what it is. It's you're helping that artist to go out into the world and sell more work and sustain and tell their message to the world. So.
The storytelling too.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
For me, the reason, I mean, I came because you're my boy, and when I saw it, and I haven't been for a while, so I wanted to come in and see this place. But the reason, when I read the email, the thing that was exciting for me was I realized that you guys had basically 3 versions of what this curating thing is, you know, from a commercial to what you do to myself, which is an artist that sort of created a space for myself to display my work. So I wanted to come and hear the 3 different components, because they although they sound like the same, there's really 3 different things in 3 different ways to approach dealing with your art, because I do a little bit of that. I'll you know, do some not-for-profit stuff with the children in the community, and I'm definitely thinking about, you know, the rent, our mortgage at all times, and our light bill. And so to have all of those things, to hear all those things, good job with the curating this panel. Yes, yes. Good job. Yes.
So we're curating the curating. So you talked a little bit, I think everyone has kind of talked about audience, and that was going to be one of my questions. Who do you think your intended audience is? So maybe you can talk a little bit about reaching beyond that. Are you ever thinking about an exhibit and you're recognizing who your audience is, but you're also hoping at the same time to maybe bring in some newer individuals, either I think for you for like spatial reasons, a nonprofit piece, or maybe because you just want to connect with someone within the community or beyond the borders of your community that might not have engaged with the gallery yet? And sorry, again, anyone can answer.
Okay. It's your turn.
I think our program is based around that, because I came to the art space, you know, after 6 years of just being an artist to be this curator. And I was limited in sort of the reach I could have within the community. So the Corey Fellow program was based on that, was, bring in this amazing artist who could tell this story, but who else can they be showing with and bring into the space? And that was inspired by a relationship I had with a Robert Cottingham, which is a really world-renowned artist who I've always wanted to show with. And the art space, because of the beauty of the space, allowed me to bring him in. And that's what I'm trying to encourage all these other artists to do, is put on that show that you want to help lift yourself up with, because, that person that you've always admired because of the space or because of maybe the clientele that are in and around Fairfield County, they would accept that invitation from you to exhibit at the art space. So I think it is important to think about your art, the artists that you bring in, how they could help, how you could help them, but also the surrounding people who come into the space on a regular basis.
I think that's true. I think our audience for the gallery has expanded so much because we have a different type of audience. We have people that buy artwork online. We had a gentleman that bought, maybe last month, from France, who bought a 60 by 60 painting on board, one of Roger Moudre's, online. He signed up for email, so he got 10% off. He put it in his cart, got his 10%, and his shipping was, I don't know, $550. We don't put like real expensive shipping up, so that we, because we figured that's got to be really worth a lot of money that we don't have to even talk to them, and they just bought it, Of course, then we went and had to go crate it, and it was $2,500 to ship it. Oh, damn it, But it was still good, because it was a $12,000 painting. I was like, okay, I can do this, And yeah. So we get people from other countries and so forth that will come on and purchase right online. Then we get some people who also will, usually if it's over 10,000, they're going to call us and they want to have a conversation with you or video or, we have a guy in England that calls every year. He's a lovely man. He knows he can fit at least 2 to 3 paintings in a crate. He was a collector of Stanley Bate, one of our moderners. And now he's like our buddy. Although we haven't had a call from him yet this year, I hope he calls. But we have to do a FaceTime, and we can walk around the gallery and find some. So we have different types of clients, that will do that. And then we have our local clientele that we hope they most of them come in, and the first time they come in, they just love being in the store. So we know, that they like our collection of artists and so forth. So, but that's like another group of type of a client. So you have to kind of take care of each one differently, a little bit differently. And, and most of if we're at the store, of course, they can take things and try them out. And we do digital renders. If they have images of their room, we can superimpose it in the room to help them, because they've always got their pictures on their phone. They come in and they got all their images. So, and we're equipped in the store where we have everybody has an iMac, so we can, just, not downloaded. I don't know, there's another, I forgot the term. Yeah, and airdrop it right on, and then the girls, they're amazing. They just go and choo, 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 I'm like, okay, I'm a little slower, but it's, they do a nice job. And so, and then the customer can get a sense of how that would look, or they could take it and try it. We have a courier service, but they do have to pay for it, so. So that's our kind of customer anyway.
Cool. My first aha moment, I guess, as an artist was, more than 20 years ago, in the New York scene, I kind of came on the scene as a poet, performance poet, and realized that a lot of people didn't know I was a painter. And to me, I would call that like my first thing. And so I did a play, and where I painted and did poetry, and then we ended up taking it off Broadway. And that's still the way I approach now. So I'm always going to invite all of the different art forms, musicians and poets and writers. I'm always going to and do this cross-pollination thing. And I'm going to, doing it knowing that they're going to take the news back, just the way if I run up on a really good essayist, I'm going to tell you about him, or a novel, I'm going to tell you about him. Like this wonderful woman who just published her first novel that I think is brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because I love her. It's true. Because I did the cover and the forward, but it's true. And again, that, you know, to me, you know, we all curated today when we got here. Like, those orange shoes are not by accident. You know what I mean? So that, if you think about it from that point of view, then I feel like you can't lose. And then the other part with me is consciously going at people of color and getting them interested in this thing, because, you know, this, one of the last maybe 20 years is when you actually have black and brown people who have, quote unquote, extra money to do things like buy art. So I am consciously always, you know, inviting them and really kind of educating them. I run into a lot of them because I'm a master teaching artist. So being in the school system, I meet the artist kid, and the parent. I realize the parent is very encouraging. I'm going to invite them to the house, you know. And then I realize they own a home. I'm going to talk to them about that, you know. That whole idea of going out and really, you know, seeing. I got my college friends. I went to our reunion, a homecoming 2 years ago, and I told everybody it's been 30 years and their discount is gone. You know, I knew you, we went to college together, discount. You know what I'm saying? And I got three people that called me out of that because they wanted to own some pieces. So that part for me, you know, when it comes to the new people, I think you have to be ultimately aggressive. Like in the Caribbean, our word the word we use is higgler. A higgler is the vendor. And you know, I grew up, my family did it, and so, you know, that's what you do. You know, I remember being in my grandmother's house, and the woman that sold mangoes, she walked by, she didn't wait for you to come to the market. You know, my great grandmother would be at the market, but she would send my grandmother out with a tray on her head, and she walked the street saying, get your mangoes, get your mangoes. So it's that same approach. You gotta be a higgler, you gotta hustle. It's a hustle. Yeah, so that's the verb, and it's a verb. So that's the part for me when it comes to the new customers, like where we live now. We have a couple of people that have bought paintings from us in there, not because they stumbled upon the place, but because they made the mistake of telling me that they saw the stuff in the window, which was the catch. So then I talked their ears, you know, talked them to death about why they should come in and see the work. And, you know, that to me is very, very kind of like, it's right now, what am I pushing? Old photographs of your family. It's the holidays, don't give them a corny gift. Come to the gallery and have us do a custom piece for you. You take some old photos. We could put your grandfather together with your kids that, you know, you can actually have a picture that would have never happened in real life because he passed so many years ago. So, and that's anything that we could think of to get the customer in so we can pay the mortgage, right? Yeah, so that's my thing.
Yeah, we have to be able to support ourselves to keep doing what we do. So it doesn't matter whether you're commercial or nonprofit. It does all come down to money.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you have involved young people in creating an exhibit. And then a follow-up for me as an arts administrator, how can we involve more young people in the business side of these types of initiatives, right? Because I think that young people, I'm also hearing they want to know about the financial piece. How can I make money on my art? And I think one of the things that you're referencing with using social media and using a website is of interest of young people, but maybe they don't have the mechanics. So if you can talk about how you involve them in your process, I think that'd be helpful for some of the young people that might be listening.
I get to cheat because I'm a mass teaching artist, so I run up on them really quickly. But that is one of the people, like the criteria for when I was with Duvian was a mentee and a couple of mentees and a mentor. And my mentor was Dave Sepulveda, who was still an artist, but he was my teacher at Conan when I grew up in Stanford. I got here about 24 months after being in America and hating America and begging my mother every day to go back home to my grandfather and not be here. One day he looked over my shoulder in art class and said, wow, that's pretty good brushstroke. You must be an artist. And I was convinced. So that's why every year for the last 32 years, I go into you know, low-income places that can't really afford to pay me what they should, and work, because that one kid might need to see me to see that and get that part. The other part of it that's really obvious, even with our generation, was that outlet, you know, giving that kid that opportunity to vomit, I call it when I'm writing, or to voice their feelings, and letting them know that it's okay, you know, to scream in your paintings and in your poems and in your songs and get it out, I think is really, 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 really important. The economical component is all of my classes that I teach, we always have this component where I'll talk to the school and convince them and to let us do a finished product. Like if I'm doing writing, I want them to come up with a book, whether they do their own or an anthology, and then sell it at the school to the parents on parent night and those kind of things. So they get the idea of you create something, you put it together, you sell it, and you see the money from it, and you know, realize that that's how Walmart and all the other places started. You know, with somebody getting the idea of a little thing that I can do, and sort of inspiring that thing all the time. So that's my,
We don't do as much probably as we should. Probably just don't have the bandwidth, I don't know, you know. But because I have thought about it many times. I was originally a teacher years and years ago, and taught New Haven actually for a short time before I left and went cross country with my girlfriend, and was wild. But you know, when I think about those days, because it was an inner city school and it was, you know, there was very poor. Great creative artwork came out of there, just wonderful. But today it's harder in a commercial gallery because of, you know, again, the time element. So many things have to be done and paid for and so forth and attended to. The only thing I can say I do is when an artist does come in, if I can, I will spend some time with them and answer a lot of questions and, you know, give them some time. My cousin Julia always tells me I should do a course and tape it and then, you know, and charge for it or give it away. I don't know. But, you know, you could do whatever. But it's, you know, and I talk to a lot of that. I say, you know, a lot of artists don't need a gallery today. You really don't. You can do everything on your own and with different, you know, we're in a co-op with other artists. Because a gallery, I mean, I see so many great artists. I can't have them all. You know, they all want to get it. I can't fit them. You know, I just can't physically get them all in, you know. And with COVID, we had a bunch of artists that were signed that we could not bring on right away. We didn't know what was going on, so we had to wait. So we were kind of backlogged, and artists, you know, we open up now a submission link every January, but I don't even know if we could fit any this year. We're just, you know, we have too many, I think. We just don't have storage and so forth. But I tell the artists, you know, if you want to do a nice, simple website, you can do a Squarespace, has a nice website. It's pretty much user-friendly. You could drag it, you know, you got to take some pictures with your iPhone, get a nice iPhone, and you can do a little editing and drag and drop your pictures into your website. Or, I mean, today, even Instagram, you could probably sell right on Instagram. I don't even know if you need the website. I mean, if you want to get more into your business, then you want both. And, you know, that will certainly help. Prints are a big thing. I usually tell artists to do prints because prints are, if they can figure out how to photograph their artwork and they can license it with other companies. There's plenty of licensing companies. They could Google it. They have to sign a licensing agreement with them, but they should read through it and make sure it's, you know, what they like, and they should ask questions. And then and I gave them the basics. It's usually 3 years is the contract, and it's usually a 10% commission. But once they have your image, they have it for 3 years, and you're going to make, you know, it's like getting rent money off your pictures. So you're going to get a check every month or every quarter, however that particular company does it. And, you know, some artists I know make $3,000 or $4,000 a month and could be more. I don't know, you know, so that's a nice chunk of change to give you money to pay for your art supplies. And so you can become you know, I want to try this. Maybe I want to do sculpture or clay or, you know, whatever other areas that you want to push yourself in as an artist, and or just pay your rent so you can continue to be an artist and a full-time artist, not have to have another job. So those are, you know, the kinds of things I try to you know, tell them. But it's hard. You know, it's not easy. It's, if you really want to do it, you have to work hard. You can't just say, well, here's my art, I want to just drop it off. It's like, you know, they say, well, you know, how many hours do you think? I say, you got to work about, you know, 10 days a week, I'd say.
40 hours a day. Exactly.
So, you know, and because the part of it, 3 or 4 days is your Google research and your book, you know, you're keeping track, making your systems to organize your inventory and your collection. This collection, I'm going to make a collection of landscapes if that's what you do. And, you know, they're all going to have the same general feeling in them. So now that's a collection. I'm going to frame them all the same way. So when I hang them up on a wall, it's just one collection. And then maybe I want to do something more abstracted. So that will be another collection. And, you know, you can separate that on your website. So you have to merchandise your work. So you show it on your website or your Instagram profile or whatever. And that becomes a large selling point. I mean, I've seen people, and I tell artists this all the time, the worst art can be sold if it's portrayed and framed properly and looks good. It will, you would say, what? You know, but somebody would look at that, and it's the way it's presented, it's merchandised, you know. And you hate to look at that artwork in commercial terms like that, because it's like you're losing something. But if you need, you know, to make some income, then you have to say sometimes writers have to write for the masses. And then they can still, if they can write for the masses and make some money, they can make their real art on the, over here, you know. So, you know.
I think you guys covered a lot of the artist way, but I think I'm gonna put the education hat on. And where we are at the space and the education and curation, our kids aren't there yet. They're not, they don't see themselves beyond, you know, where they are. And that's why, again, art is so important, to allow them that sense of expression, to be able to find their sense of expression and discovery, which you need to go into the curating world, I think. And I think it's based on the kids, but also parents who don't want kids to go into the art world.
That's never changing.
Well, they think there's no money in it.
Exactly.
And so if they come to me, they shouldn't come to me and tell me that. I don't want money. Because I'll say, I have 4 or 5 artists that do 6-figure incomes. Okay?
Right.
I say, so don't tell me that. I say, get some good graphic design background, and you encourage your kid.
And that's what we try to do, and that's what we're doing. But it's a society thing that we have to sort of, that we have to change and elevate.
Why is that still? I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Why?
Yeah. Why do you think?
Because 1% of graduates from art school end up making it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, just like a lot of professions out there.
You're one of them, Julie.
It boggles my mind. It's like, are they not exposed to the world? Or I mean, maybe it's like real
It's a tough field, and it's not a field where you could just follow. You have to set your own path.
Yes, you do.
And because you don't know who that buyer is going to be and what. You're an independent business.
I wanted to build on Erika's original question about young people, because she said young people, not necessarily children. And I'm thinking specifically about my young people who are young adults, who are pass the baton kind of people. Like my daughter, who's about to be 26, and a lot of our eyes is still a child, right? Because she's still learning, she's still developing. But a lot of these what we call kids are ready to take the baton and move. And so as curators, my thing is, I'm not talking about young kids because they're not ready for that, right? But there are some that are ready to take the baton and move into that next step. So if they were interested in curating, what are you doing in your realm? And I don't want to extend the question beyond that because I think we were focused mostly on children, but young adults who are in the art world, because I'm not one of those people that's telling my kids not to be an artist. My daughter is an artist. My daughter is a lot of things, and I'm telling her to do what she's great at because that's what's going to bring her happiness, right? And that's the motivation I've given my kids, which is completely against society because she won't get rich off of that, but I believe that is rich. Doing what you love and what you're passionate about.
What you just said, you said she's not gonna get rich off of that.
She will.
Don't tell her that.
Oh no, I'm not telling her that. I'm not, and honestly, I don't tell them anything. They watch my example and they do what they want to do, but I'm thinking about.
I mean, look at Hunt Solomon, okay? The guy who makes the bunny rabbits, all right? I know this guy. I met him years and years ago at the Hampton Art Show. And the bunny rabbits, okay, they're very nice. They're fun. You know why? They're happy. Bunny rabbits. He's making sheets now. He's licensing the hell out of the bunny rabbits.
I mean, I would never tell my kids that they're not.
Do you know
how
much money that man is making? He doesn't care if people say, "Oh, that's not real art. That's commercial." Yeah, well, he can make all kinds of art now. The guy's a millionaire. That's what
what made me think about? There's a West African term is called Sankofa. Go back and get it.
Yeah.
I think we forget that the old stuff is the cool stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing that I love still because I did it. It's called apprenticeship.
Yeah.
I was my grandfather's apprentice in the tailor shop. And through Duvian and the art space, I now have three apprentices that I did not solicit. That I cannot. This is my witness. I cannot keep from my house. And when I get home tonight, Greg is going to call me after. Greg County, Alicia, and Greg brought DJ, and that's from a year ago when I met them at your place. They've been to my house 100 times.
Right.
And they come for that. And you're right, they're not ready for the next age. Neither were we when we were that age. But what they are
ready to learn.
Is to learn. You know what I'm saying? And what I get, sis, is like the thing you're talking about, because you and I are both, I'm very 20th century, so when it comes time to push the doodads and get to connect that and drop box that, and I have no idea.
And that's what I was going to say. They're ready to learn.
That's what a meeting space is.
But they're also ready to teach us.
Yeah,
and I think that's
the meeting
there's a
space.
bridge.
The meeting space is where, so like for example, this weekend, my band, we're gonna take the microphone, put it outside, and we're gonna do some videos.
Yeah.
And who's gonna do the shooting and all that, right? And DJ and Alicia. And I'm not gonna pay them. They're gonna come and we're gonna trade knowledge. They're gonna teach me, and I'm gonna teach them. And that's what's been going on for about a year and a half now. That they come over and they work, and they pick my brain on questions, and they watch me when we're setting up the show for something else. And so I think that's the component. When you talk about the young adults and the children, it's the quote unquote established artists like myself and some of us who can have access to,
The next generation.
who just have a picture of him and Norman Lewis and Ramir Beard chilling in his house. And I'm like, what you got? And he's like, I know. And that blows my mind, but to be able to get access to him, it was really important. And for him to learn from him and his generation, and Mary Baraka did it with us with the poetry. Every Sunday we could go to his basement and read poetry for hours and hours and hours and hours. And their generation had this thing where they did that for us, especially for us, people of color. So I am compelled to pass that forward into the time. So you can come to my house, and you can come and do your poetry, and you can come and do your book release there, and you can come and do your one-person show, and we'll figure out how to do it, and I'll tell you why those and that doesn't work, and that kind of stuff will happen so that they get to do, and Duvian offers that at the art space.
I know, especially spaces that are community spaces, but when you think about more commercial galleries, right? And so I think we have three different perspectives here. Not to put you on the spot, but what are commercial galleries, which are, what are they doing in that realm?
So when they come to you,
tell them you call me and you tell them when they're coming, and I'll talk to you.
But I think,
I will.
I think we make a good point. I think that that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's the combination. It's him and I doing my show, where we're finished and everything's set up, and I want to bring this over there, and we realize that we could electrify above.
Yeah.
So people could look this way, they could look, and then they could look up and see art, and it was like, it was like a elementary Watson kind of thing, you know what I mean? So it's that. So I think teaching them, since we're talking about young adults, they should get that. Don't come up with something and you have to just go individual, or go nonprofit, or go commercial. Think about how you can get at all three, all the different angles and all the avenues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how do you want to do it? Maybe they don't want to be in a commercial
Yeah.
gallery.
And
Maybe
I
they
think
don't
one
want
of the
to.
ways commercial galleries do this is by hiring young people.
Mm.
And I've spent my whole entire career working in galleries all over the East Coast to support my art, and learned so much
Oh, yeah.
while being paid, while doing my artwork. And so I think that that's one way, is sharing the knowledge with your employees, all of it. Like, I learned everything from
I would say that's true. My general manager's here, so I take pictures, but say hi, Ken. But I have another employee that she's full-time, but she's in Albany. She's my marketing manager, Christine, and she works remote. And she always has. And she used to work in my Albany gallery, and I got her back because she's that good. And then we have usually one other person. But it's hard because they know the more tech, and I get away from it because I'm busy doing some of the other day-to-day things, or trying to secure. In some cases, right now, I'm trying to work with some of the bigger companies to use the prints that I have from my artists as a collective, a collection to offer up to maybe William and Sonoma or West Elm or something, and do a Sorelle collection or whatever. So I'm trying to, Curate and Brown, there's a few others. So it would be like a sub-license, but it would be big for the artists and us. Because what happens, I mean, I would give it away. I'd give it to them and not make any money because they would just get the name out. And then those artists, because even my artists will say they get so much more referrals because of the gallery, and we're also on a platform called firstdibs.com. So they get a lot of referrals, you know, and sometimes they get nervous. Some artists will call us back and say, well, you know, do I have to give you a commission? I said, well, no, they're looking for something you have. That's yours, you sell it, you know. So if it's something I have, yes, I'm someone else can sign for me, then you gotta do it. But, you know, and, you know, I think we're pretty open, so they pretty much know everything about the business. And, you know, because they handle pretty much we're a small company, you know.
Yeah.
And I have to trust them, you know. I mean, we do go through different people, but I think it is a great learn. We always tell some of our interns and so forth, because we usually pay our interns, but, you know, you'll work hard, and, you know, it's a lot of work. You won't get paid well, but you will learn a tremendous amount of information.
Yeah.
So, you know, while you're here, just, you know, learn as much as you can.
Absolutely.
I would love to get into a little bit of the mechanics of curation, because I know a lot of us personally are all interested in that as artists. When you're thinking about a new exhibit and you're starting the process of curation, do you start with the idea of the theme first? Do you start with an artist or a group of artists first? Is that overriding concept that you're coming up with, that's the thing, you know, what you're trying to get from the audience? Where does it start? Where does the germ of the whole thing start when you're coming up with it?
Sure. There's definitely the theme, but you select the work beforehand. You do the studio visits, and you do the exhibition statements, all that before you actually get all the physical work. Mm-hmm. Once you get the physical work, that's where the fun is. That's where the dance is. You know, you put one piece down and you put one next to it. It's all going well, and then that one piece that you want in, that you're desperate to put in the show, but it's not quite working, so you have to reconfigure everything. And I think that's where you and I bonded over that exhibition, because it was constantly moving, constantly changing, and how important bring more stuff, but how important having everything in that room is, that you want to be able to tell that, you know, your exhibition statement. If you have that statement, you have that mission behind it, you need all that work to really play off of each other.
So what if, though, you're looking at a calendar, you've got March 2024, and it's blank. Where do you start? Do you say, oh, I need a show about this, I need to work with that artist? Where's the very, very, very beginning part of it?
So yeah, I think you have that concept in your mind of something you want. A story could be something that's relevant to today, or what you think is going to be relevant a year from now, and then you do research. You got to put in the work, and
storefront, man. It's still the storefront. With everything, the digital world and everything else, it's still the storefront. Like, what am I going to put in the front window? So March is Women's History Month. It's the first thing that's going to jump into my head. That's going to be the first. So any time that comes up like that, that's what's going to come up in my head. You know, end of the year for us, Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is one part. Buying Kumba, which is, you know, sort of non-commercial gifts. So that's the perfect time to come and buy an individual piece of art. So we're gonna do a Kumba show. We're gonna do a Kwanzaa show. You know what I'm saying? That we're gonna make sure we do something that's themed like that. But for me, it's once the stuff gets in there, because I think you need it all. It's like what we all did today. Dress, put on the shirt. It didn't look right. You know, put it back in the cupboard and got another one. Put on the shoes with it. Didn't like the shoes. And went and put the scarf on. Didn't like that color scarf on, and put another one. And it's like you stand in the mirror, and it's just like a feeling. And you go, yeah, this is perfect. And you leave. So it's that thing, like trusting that, like juju, I guess is the word we call it in Caribbean, which is like magic. It's like there's got to be some room for that little magic thing that happens. You know, like you can do the Women's History Show, and maybe you go and find a sister poet as well, and have her be the draw. Since you know she's in Bridgeport, you know she's a big poet in Bridgeport. Maybe she's the draw. So you have her, and on the opening night, you have her be a feature, and bring her crowd, and maybe half her crowd never really been in the gallery before. So then you sort of killing all the birds with one stone kind of thing. So to me, is as many birds as possible with one stone. You know, whatever the theme is. You know, February, Black History Month. You know, the beautiful thing about America is every month is something. You know what I'm saying? So you can, and it can be exotic. It can be really exotic. It's like Salsa Week and all. You can do stuff like that and have all of those things happen. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like with salsa, I would get two people to come and do a demonstration and tell everybody we're going to have that, so that there's that component there, and maybe tell them to dress for the occasion. You know, all of those things. I think, you know, once you get like that first thing, then you just keep building on it, and maybe you end up you do take a lot away and whittle back, but more is better. Less is not better. When you're doing curating, more is better. More paintings and less paintings is better.
Editing.
Yes, the edit, that's what I call it. Ours is very similar. I think you pretty much said it all. I like that analogy of the outfit, because we do that. We drag a lot of paintings out, and you know, we always want to give a voice. If we're doing a more salon, which is mix of everybody, we want to say, well, who hasn't had the front, you know? So we switch people around and, you know, bring out another painting from an artist that maybe was in the back last time, and they want to give them in the front, you know, and then, okay, how is that going to work? That's so bright. Oh my gosh, what are we going to put with that? You know, but we want it there. So then we have to kind of pull everything out, and the dance is good. But we like to dance with the customers too. I tell my team, you have to dance with them, you know, when you're talking with them. So, yeah.
I have a question. You guys all have physical spaces, so when you are curating, you have a place for them. But as an artist, what advice can you give us to curate a show that we have to sell to be shown somewhere? And also, have you ever done a show and had it travel? So you've curated a show and had it shown more than once, and how did you do that?
You mean like in your studio? Like you want to Like you
No,
have
like
a thing coming up now?
I have a few artists that we wanted to, we have a theme or whatever, so we curate some work. We have a statement, but who do I take it to and how, where do I get it shown other than my studio?
Cultural Alliance, man, don't you guys have, they have all these spaces, like rent spaces, I don't know, you guys probably have some good, you might have to ask me. I mean, I can tell you, our landlord is David Waldman, and he's like Mr. Westport, So he's David Adams Realty, and you could call him and say, hey, David, we're artists and we want to, is there a space that nobody's using? Because there's lots of space available.
Yeah, we did do that.
Yeah, I would hit him up, don't tell him I told you.
When you're saying travel, you're talking like traveling state to state or like inside of the?
Just shown more than once.
Yeah.
Usually invited. Like I don't know. Let's say we're doing a theme on women, right? And we did it in Bridgeport, and we want to do it in New Haven. I'm gonna find somebody up there in New Haven that's doing something like that, and I'm gonna add them to the show. You know what I mean? So I'm bringing the shows that I had in Bridgeport, but I'm going to add a New Haven artist that's in the same mindset, or their work is very similar to what was in my show. So now they'll bring their crowd, and then that's kind of like cheating from poetry. That's what we do. When I'm doing poetry, that's what I'll do. If I go somewhere else or with a band, you go with your band and you go to Chicago, and you find a trumpet player there, and he brings his crowd. You know what I mean? And that's, you know what I mean? Like the same, like it's like the same, like a different person, but that they bring the same kind of thing to the table, so that you keep filling in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That link, if you will.
Yeah, I would check though with, there's a lot, I see a lot of empty spaces.
There's also, if you look online, like call for entry, is it .org or .com, the website call for entry, there are a lot of galleries, including Metro's gallery, that puts out a call for curated shows once or more times a year. Manifest Gallery, which is out in, I believe, Michigan or Ohio, I think. They put out calls for curated shows where they're looking for you to put a proposal together with one or more artists, and they provide floor plans of the gallery so you can figure out how many pieces that would need to be. You end up paying your own shipping or bringing the work yourself. It depends on the gallery, and there are different levels of that. There's galleries where you pay to exhibit your work. There's galleries where they pay everything to exhibit your work. But there are a lot of things out there like that. They usually call them call for exhibition is what they usually call that. And there are tons of places like that do that. That would actually be a really great resource for Metro to put on our website, is to list things like that. So I'll work on that.
Well, and the art space essentially does that through the Corey Fellow program. Is you're asked to come in to be the curator, the artist, but also a curator within our space.
That was like the big event. The big event, like the biggest component for me of working with Duvian was that I was co-curator with him, and he really like.
I gave you
He
the parameters.
gave me that. Yeah.
I gave you the parameters, but you were the one that really.
What are the parameters? We want to know.
The theme, I think, is key. Bring in people who are going to enhance the theme, not just people you think you like, but something that's really going to work in a dialogue.
And he kept saying to me, make the thread obvious, make the connective thing between the people that you brought in, like make it obvious for the lay person that comes into the gallery. Allow them to be able to see, like when I picked from here, Morrison, who I love, she uses negative space. I remember when I said that to you, that was the one you were like, I don't know, I'm like, no, she teaches me of how powerful negative space is. Megan, she's in here, and I love her work, and it worked, and we put it right as you came in, and you went past my statues, and she was like right dead center, and for me, it made the whole show.
It did.
Because it was like this, you come, my stuff is busy and colorful, and she uses a lot of like monotone tone. And it was like, bam, and it just kind of brought you right back down and everything like that. And I loved it.
It set everything else
Yes.
off, which is, you know, theme, like-minded people, and
The juju, it's gotta have the dance, man. You gotta be able to stand up and watch people bouncing and doing this thing.
variety of size too is big. You know, you don't want to have just one big show with all big work. I think it's good to have a rhythm to it.
There's a rhythm, there's always, you just don't, I mean, you could, the last show we actually did with Sophie Swan, they were 48 by 72, and they could go either way. But we hung them all vertical, because she wanted them all vertical. She had seen a show. I said, okay, I said, we talked about it a little bit. I said, I don't think anything's gonna sell, but it's okay, you know. Let's take lots of pictures for promo, you know, and we did, and nothing did sell. But, you know, well, one thing did sell, the smaller thing, there was a little less price, because she's a little high price, but it was a fabulous. I think Julia came over to you and said, this is so cool, because it was like, they were like, you know, there was some spacing, but they were, you know, they were all patterned, and they were very cool. It was really cool looking show. So.
Also, I think height is important for an exhibition too.
Yes.
And having everything on the same central line.
Yes.
It makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Is it a standard height, or is it changed based on work?
It changes based on the space.
We have a formula.
Center line.
Yeah.
So the center line, museum is almost 60. We do a 58 on center.
So we do too.
Yeah. Just because you have to feel the room.
Yeah, how high the ceilings are.
Especially if you're tall, like we are. You gotta kind of automatically adjust down.
So when you're curating an exhibit, how many artists would you say you generally are either looking to work with, or like what's your sweet spot? And I know you mentioned more is better. So
More art, not necessarily more artists.
So talk a little bit about that distinction.
I think that you probably, the first thing to me, with me, is sort of anticipating disaster or what happens if the proverbial doodle hits the fan kind of thing. So kind of work backwards from there. So you try to like lessen the confusion as much as you can. So then that's going to instantly, and maybe it sounds like a cop-out, but it's going to be a feel thing again. Like you might think that you want 6 people in the show and get four people's work and realize that you have too much. You know what I mean? And then have to go back and say, you know what, maybe take this back, maybe take this back, maybe take. So I think being flexible with that as well is really important. Something else I think we off sort of not saying but saying is you got to be kind of tough too, and say no, because you'll have an artist that's really adamant about showing, like, you know, you went to maybe you went for a visit and you saw that and that and that piece, and they think that this 4th piece that they didn't really show you should go in the show, and so they bring it and they're really insistent, and you have to be really, you got to kind of hold your ground and be able to say no, this does not work with the show. So I think that's probably for me that's the thing. Yeah. So I you know, it's got to be a feel. It's got to be a feel, because you might end up. There's nothing worse than feeling like you got too much, not only art but too many artists. So yeah, but you have to be willing, like again with the toughness, to be able to say, I'm sorry, but we really don't need 7 paintings, but I will take these 2. You know what I'm saying?
Depends on the size of the space too,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think the space is really
Really,
key. So
Yeah.
if you have an idea for an exhibition, really feel out the space and see how many people are able to express themselves, but at a limited pace. Because if you get too many artists, then it doesn't.
It's not going to dance.
It's not. Yeah, it's just a group exhibition that doesn't say much. But I think knowing the space. You know, I've done exhibitions where I've done a layout, architectural layout, and had pieces laid out in that exhibition, and that really helps, especially when it comes to having the right amount of works and space. You know, having that layout helps.
So now you've chosen your artists, and now you're thinking about the work itself. What types of connections are you thinking about between the pieces, between the various artists? When you're curating, are you thinking about subject matter alone, the medium, like are they all oil paintings? Are you thinking about a color palette? Does that play into it at all? The origin story of the work, the theme that you came up with? How are you figuring out how these pieces are all going to work together? And I know you need more work and then you eliminate and all that, but when you're selecting the work, where are you coming at it when you're thinking about those connections and creating that dance?
I would just say we usually, because we show, we're not doing like a group of art together unless we actually do a feature on one wall. So it's every other, it's always a different artist, then it's usually got to have some kind of a flow to it. So whether color, shape, line, whatever, but it has to be able to not fight against another piece. Like I was saying, like you might have something that's very busy and very full of color and so forth. So maybe the pieces on either side of it, and that's a square, so maybe we're going to do a vertical here and a vertical that's smaller here, or a horizontal from the square, and then it's going to be maybe more monotone colors or more minimalistic. So it's, and then on either side of that, you know, you go off it. So we kind of have a system where we'll go every other pin, and it takes a while. It's like you were saying, you have to lay everything out, and you may want one piece in the front, and it doesn't work because you really want that there. But, you know, so then you have to change everything again, you know. So it takes a long time, you know.
I'm gonna say the one thing I learned a lot from hanging out with Duvian and doing this, but the one thing I definitely learned that I still use is the idea of putting everything up and using all of the things you mentioned, like all of the technical reasons, the height and the color and the shape and all of those things, but still be flexible enough to move something because it doesn't feel right. And he drove me crazy with that. I can't, you know, I can't lie, he did, because he did, you know, he did. I was like, okay, you gotta leave now. Because he would come back in and you would see him standing there going, and I think that's there. I think that you have to leave space for that thing. Like the juju still has to be there. Like all the other things, they could be lined up like anally, even. You know what I'm saying? With the leveler on top of them and everything, which I never use. And then you still can back up and everything is exactly, and go and move that and put that there and put that one there, and just that alone, when you back up, you go, yeah. And I think that you have to leave room for that flow. Like you hear, we all have a different name for it. It's the dance, it's the flow, it's the juju, but it's the same thing. It's like the thing that makes you go, yeah, and turn around and leave the gallery and turn off the light and go, I'm good now. I don't have to touch it again. And that thing, when you don't feel that thing, and it's opening, it's not a good feeling. Right. No. You know, like saying when the door opens in an hour and you still haven't gotten that feeling yet, you're like, argh. So that you have to leave for that thing, yeah.
So there's been lots of reference between both of you collaborating. So how can co-curators work well together? And what are some of the pitfalls that may arise when you have two people potentially with different visions? And maybe there's a different pulse of that juju, because I know not everybody feels it the same way. So how can people work well together when curating?
I think for me, it was just knowing my role as the facilitator, allowing. I guess.
You see her taping that for the guys, right?
The one who writes the checks and pays the bills.
Nah, but I think I do try to give as much expression as possible, but there's deadlines and there's, you know, themes and, you know, paperwork that all needs to be done. And I think that's what I give to the artists when they're curating their own exhibition, is those parameters. And I think we built that trust.
We bumped heads like crazy. But I love him. I love him. I came
But-
to that with a friend. I knew him before. That's my boy. That's my friend. I love him a lot. Because we did. To swing piggyback, we respected each other.
Yeah.
So we could talk shit to each other.
Well,
we could pull each other's coat because we respected each other. Like we established that right off the bat. Like I think he's an amazing artist. You know what I'm saying? And he shared that with me. So that was like our start place. So then we were able to talk like two artists first. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we found out that, I'm from my father's from South America. He's from, all those things kind of filled in after that led to the thing. So that he was able to be like, Iyaba, no, that can't go. And I'm like, okay, right, you're right, I'm gonna take it home. You know what I'm saying? But the first week I'd have been, it would have been a push. So
But
I think
it took some trust
Hell yeah.
to understand that.
Also, you made it clear that you had the last say, and I had to come. But I think that shit is important. It's important because then we're gonna be spinning around, until opening night, and you're gonna have a feature who you need to be their perfect self with an attitude. You know what I'm saying? So that it's like the fetus. You might as well not even open.
Right.
You know.
Right.
We had another space next to us for a while that we were actually in the small space originally, and then we ended up in the bigger space, which is lovely. It's 3,500 square feet, and finally we got rid of the small. He wanted us to keep both spaces because I'm sure he likes that I have great insurance, and and of course we had to pay more, but we didn't want to give it up. But we were using that space for a while for the show. We could keep a show for a whole month, and I can only say we had one artist that she was insistent on doing it herself, and so we gave up. I just said, all right, go for it. Here's all your paintings, and let me know when you're ready. I went next door. I had stuff to do. About an hour later, she came in and she said, I need help. So, I went back and, I said, you got too many paintings. There's too many in here. So, you got to make it work. It's going to be too crowded. People aren't going to, and your stuff is very patterned and very busy. They're not going to know what to look at, So do you want to sell something? Yes, okay. So let's do this. It took half an hour later. We had pretty much everything laid out. And but most of the time we prefer not to have the artists there. I hate to say it. We just say, we're just going to do it ourselves, drop the stuff off, and we're going to take the pictures and, show up for the party. So, it usually is a little bit easier.
So let's assume that everyone in this room would like to curate an exhibit. What tips do you have, practical tips, for anybody who's interested in curating an exhibit? So we're imagining that they both want to curate an exhibit and they have a space that they can exhibit in. And just even from a more pragmatic point of view, when you are choosing your own art to put on your website, you are practicing curation, right? You're deciding like how pieces go together, series, pages, which ones are prominent, which ones are less prominent. But what practice, because you all have curatorial experience, what practical tips do you have to share with everyone here?
Go to lots of shows, lots and lots of shows, local ones in the city, ones at Yale. Go to a lot of shows, and for that reason, to figure out what they were trying to do, or what they accomplished, or what they succeeded doing, or what they messed up doing. That's what I'm gonna put. Yeah.
I would say a cohesive collection. If you're going to do just your work, just try to, like I said, if you have a few different styles, pick one and do a series in that particular venue, and then either, if you're not framing it, if it's just on canvas, make all the sides the same soft gray or whatever color, and or the same frame. Even if you feel like, well, this frame doesn't go with this and the black one goes better, it's going to be difficult to hang it all together as a cohesive collection. So find something that kind of fades away or is more neutral that will work with all the work. So when it hangs cohesively, and it's not, people are, you're I look in terms of sales. So I say, what's the objection that client is going to say to me? I like that frame better. Then can I get that frame? So, and I have a lot of tricks or things like, usually if it's cohesive, no one's talking about the frame. They're just talking about which piece they want. If it's a frame, I do have some situations where the frame might be a little bit different. I'll just say, well, the frame is free. It just comes with it. So if you don't want the frame, you take the frame off. Otherwise, just get another frame on your room. That's, you could try it at home first, please. So.
I think Sandy hit it. With, especially if it's a solo exhibition, you don't want to put all your work out there. Edit, specifically a certain series that represents who you are as an artist now. You might pull from your archives, but it has to relate to what you're doing. But you don't want to do a retrospect every time you do an exhibition. So, and then if you bring in artists, you want people that are going to relate to that.
Well, it's easier for us to curate too. If you're doing 3 or 4 different artists in a show, and each artist is cohesive, it's much easier. And the show looks fabulous usually.
I'm just taking copious notes. So are you open to proposals from curators for your gallery space? And if you are, how will someone successfully approach your organization?
For us, it's the Corey Fellow Program. You could easily access it at norwalkartspace.com under artists and under programs under that page. You apply as a resident artist or the Corey Fellow. The Corey Fellows get the exhibitions, and the residents get a studio space. So we have 2 programs. So make sure if it's an exhibition, it's for the Corey Fellow program.
We do not. So we have a submission that opens up in January for artists to submit, and we do look through a lot of everybody's information. I forgot what Christine puts up, but it's I think just we're looking for their website and their Instagram profile. And unfortunately, we're really looking for artists to partner with, and that'll go with our collection already of artists. So it's not just, we do want to show their work, of course, but we're hoping that they're going to bring us some clients also. It's a partnership in that way. They will get a lot of SEO from us because we certainly spend a lot of money on Google ads and that sort of that area, and so it'll be helpful to them. It might change in the coming years. Right now, I still live up in Albany until my husband retires next year, because I still have the gallery in Saratoga, Albany, and my whole family's down here. So I'm here a lot. My mother's now 93, so I do come and stay with my brother. He's making a special room for me, so I'll stay longer when I'm here to help. But if I'm here, it would be easier, and maybe I could open some. We did something like that, I think, when we were in New Canaan, where we opened it up to one woman who did photography for. It was a very sad thing, children that were, had cancer and so forth, but people came out for it because it was very supportful for them. And we left it up. We had space in the part of the gallery where we left that whole collection up for a while. But we just, at this time, I just don't have the bandwidth. So.
We have our third floor is a guest gallery, so probably the best way is either to approach myself or a young lady over there, and pitch your idea to us. And if it's cool, we're down, and if it's not, we'll say no. Cool. Yes.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Anything you'd like to ask the curators? No? Okay, our brains are full. We want to thank you so much for coming today and sharing everything with us. It's really such an interesting thing to hear everybody's different perspective, and especially have such really different points of view about how this happens, but to feel how much there is in common between everybody, which is great. Yeah, thank you. You got to keep that, yeah. So the next.